The crack in my jaw wasn't just bone breaking. It was my life folding under a weight it had carried too long. My father's fist struck with the certainty of a man who thought his hands were holy instruments. My teeth rattled like dice in a tin. Light flared behind my eyes. The kitchen spun, yellow bulbs, chipped tiles, the gleam of spilled coffee, before I landed hard, palms sliding across blood smeared in a half-moon. For a moment the world collapsed into static. When sound crept back, it wasn't concern or apology I heard. It was laughter. My mother's. "That's what you get for running your filthy mouth," she said, stepping over me to empty the filter. "Maybe now you'll learn." All I had done was ask why I was expected to rake the entire backyard while Kyle, my older brother, scrolled on the couch like royalty. I had said, "Why can't he help for once?" To my father, that was mutiny. To my mother, it was comedy. To Kyle, it was proof he would never pay for anything. "Get up," Dad barked. "Or should I teach you again?" The taste of iron flooded my tongue. My jaw pulsed so hot it blurred my eyes. I forced myself onto shaky legs and croaked, "I'm fine." "You'll be fine when you learn respect," he growled before resuming his pancakes like nothing had happened. Mom flipped the next batch, humming, "Clean yourself up. And the yard had better be spotless before lunch. I don't want neighbors thinking we're animals." If I had laughed, my lip would have split again, so I didn't. In that house, humor was defiance. Wit was rebellion. I pressed a towel to my mouth until the red dulled to brown, then went outside, broom in hand, because survival had been choreographed into me long before adulthood. Through the window I saw Kyle sprawled on the sofa, TV glow blue across his smirk. His eyes found mine. That smirk again, the silent promise. "You'll never be more than this." I was 26. Old enough to leave. Still trapped. My savings had disappeared into Kyle's ventures. A t-shirt brand, a crypto scheme, some course he never finished. My hours at work had been cut. Every plan I'd made had been sabotaged with accidents. My car broke down only on interview days, then magically worked after. My phone vanished when important calls were due, only to reappear later. Mom would smile and say, "Maybe it's a sign you're not ready yet." The punch wasn't a sign to wait. It was the final one telling me to move. By nightfall, my reflection was a stranger. Swollen jaw, lips split, bruises blooming purple across bone. I looked like someone already defeated. Yet behind the pain was a sharper thought, cold, thin, unyielding. A blade of intent. That night, while they argued about takeout, pizza or Thai, the kind of choices they confused for freedom, I sat on my bed and started planning. Not scribbles. A blueprint. Not escape, but reclamation. The next morning, I forced down toast through a mouth that barely opened. Dad drank coffee and rustled the business section like a king reviewing decrees. Mom plated pancakes, blueberries for Kyle, plain for me if any were left. Kyle strolled in, hair artfully messy, shirt from yesterday. "Don't just stand there," Mom ordered. "Pour juice for your brother." I did. Kyle mimicked my swollen jaw and snorted, "Guess Dad finally knocked some sense into you." Dad chuckled. "She's lucky I didn't break more." That was the moment it clicked. This wasn't random cruelty. This was ritual. And if I stayed, it would become religion. That night, I opened the cedar chest in my closet. Beneath blankets that smelled of another life, I pulled out 3 things. My old laptop from high school, a spare set of house keys I had secretly made years ago, and a spiral notebook half filled with equations, half empty. The laptop wheezed awake. I started to write, not a diary but a map. Rule 1. Invisibility. I would stop playing the mouthy daughter. For the next week, I became the version they liked. Obedient, quiet, invisible. I cleaned without protest, laughed at Kyle's jokes, nodded through Dad's lectures. I shrank until they stopped watching. Invisibility isn't disappearance. It's camouflage. While I scrubbed floors, I observed where Dad kept his ledgers, which emails Mom read twice, how Kyle bragged about things he shouldn't know, account balances, passcodes, the office door lock he guessed from their wedding year. One afternoon, Mom left her purse unattended during a phone call. My hands shook, but my memory didn't. In her notes app were passwords written like grocery lists. Dad's email. The HOA portal. Kyle's logins. I memorized the rhythm, not the letters. I didn't need screenshots, I needed patterns. 2 weeks later, Kyle bragged about his big break. He had rented a hall, bought drinks, strung lights, all using Dad's networking fund. He called it a launch party. Launch night was cheap spectacle. Second-hand suits, sparkling non-alcoholic wine, a projector looping Kyle's logo. Dad boomed from the stage. "My son is proof discipline pays." The word discipline vibrated in my jaw. Kyle launched into his speech, all buzzwords and borrowed ambition. Then came the video cue. Instead, my USB unlocked the truth. On screen appeared Dad's ledger, neat columns of loans never repaid. Mom's cruel messages mocking a woman she owed. An audio clip of Dad sneering, "You're nothing without me." A recording of Kyle mocking a man outside rehab. The room froze. Phones rose. Murmurs spread like wildfire. The final slide read, "Funded by money stolen from a blind child's surgery." Gasps. A hissed, "Oh my God." I walked forward into the projector light. My father's face cracked for the first time. Fear. "You," he spat. "Me," I said steady. "The worthless one. The silent one." Kyle turned pale. Mom clutched her purse like a shield. Dad stared at me, trapped in my gaze for once. "You built this family name on cruelty," I whispered. "I just returned it stripped of polish." And then I walked out, not slamming doors, not running. Behind me was silence heavy as stone. For the first time since childhood, I stepped outside and breathed air that belonged to me. They called it an accident. On the neighborhood forum, Dad's friends claimed it was tech failure or kids hacking. Not one dared say the truth, that his daughter had forced him to look in a mirror. At first my phone stayed silent. Then came the flood. Threats, half-baked apologies, shocked messages from neighbors. One girl from high school texted, "Thank you. They always told me I was too much." I filed a police report about the assault. Paper mattered. Lena, my friend, took me to a free legal clinic. I learned new words. Affidavit, restraining order, injunction. A dentist documented my jaw with x-rays. I sent everything, the punch, the bruises, the recordings, to the district attorney. She replied, "We'll pursue if you're ready." I typed, "Yes." Dad texted, "How dare you, we can fix this." Mom called, leaving silence. Kyle sent a laughing emoji to his friends who forwarded it to me. I didn't return home. Home had never been safe. I stayed on Lena's couch, her cat purring against me on nights when breathing hurt. The legal system moved like molasses, but slow power is still power. I got a bakery job at dawn, kneading dough until my arms ached, finding rhythm in push, fold, turn. At night, I worked shifts no one connected to my family. The first court hearing was small, wood-paneled, smelling of dust. Dad wore his best suit, Mom her wine-red dress of sympathy. Kyle didn't show. The judge read my affidavit, Lena's statement, the photos, the video. The result, restraining order. Anger counseling. Asset freeze. Outside, Mom's voice dripped acid. "You've ruined our family." "No," I said. "You did. When you taught my brother my body was his shield." "You know what people are saying?" "Yes. That you can't pretend anymore." The restraining order gave me breathing room. Dad couldn't appear where I worked. Kyle, cut off from Dad's network, watched his schemes collapse. The bank froze his accounts. Mom posted Bible verses online while gossiping over brunch. In the space they left, new voices filled in. Lena's laughter. The oven's ding. An email, "Your grant is approved." A project to teach women in shelters about leases, contracts, rights. I called it Mouths Unshut. My father lost contracts, blaming the economy. Kyle moved away. My mother crashed with an aunt who eventually called me whispering, "He really hit you?" She'd always known. Knowing and saying are not the same. A journalist asked to include my story in a series about parental abuse. I agreed with conditions. The article ran, my name omitted, the facts laid bare. It didn't ask why I stayed. It asked why abuse hides in plain sight. Strangers left notes. "My dad called me guttermouth too. He never hit me, but I still smell it." I wrote back, "You can learn to breathe different air." Months later, Dad broke the order and appeared at the community retreat I co-founded on land he once used for golf meetings. Security escorted him out. He didn't look at me. I felt nothing. Kyle texted, "Sorry." I left it unread. Apologies are currency, he had none I wanted. Mom mailed a box of old photos. Me toothless. Me in a crooked collared shirt. No note. I taped 2 on my wall. Not to miss her, but to remember me. The shelter group grew. Under bad lights and a forgotten disco ball, we laughed and cried, passing highlighters and scripts for saying no. Someone joked about calling ourselves gutter mouths. The name stuck. We printed shirts. Gutter mouths tell the truth. We wore them under blazers to court. When my mother showed up at the retreat gate, she asked, "Are you proud of yourself?" "Yes," I answered without hesitation. Later she wrote, "I didn't stop him." That's the same as doing it. Wasn't, but it was closer. My father never wrote. He moved, lied about the economy, broke the order again, spent a weekend in jail, then stopped testing boundaries. On the anniversary of the punch, I stood in my kitchen, coffee fresh, spoon cold against the scar no one else could see. Outside, a child rode through puddles with unbroken joy. I whispered a prayer, not to any god but to the world, that puddles stay pure for kids who haven't had joy weaponized against them. Some nights I still feel the phantom crack. Other nights I bake bread at 3 a.m. and bring loaves to the shelter by 8. If I ever write a thesis again, it will be called The Mathematics of Leaving. The last line will read, "We are not what they did. We are what we built after." The spoon in my drawer is cold. The house is quiet. Somewhere another girl plugs in her USB. Another man raises a glass to paper that won't save him. Another woman grips a broom for one more day. Me. I sip my coffee, feel my jaw loosen, not in pain but in speech. I open my mouth and say 2 words, steady as keys. No. And then, yes.